I just realized like how bad the lighting is being back like what midnight, almost midnight. I look like a ghost. If you guys want me to upgrade the camera equipment, let me know. I don't think it's needed. I think that the content matters, not the quality of it. But I'm looking at the video right now, and it's not the best. That's not even my skin color. NASCAR at Darlington, Southern 500, usually one of my favorite races of the year. And I could say it didn't really disappoint. I was pretty happy with it. So let's get right into it. Denny Hamlin qualified on pole. He's been on a hot streak, basically like me, being a hot lapper, but then not winning races. But I did win my last race. Woo! Hamlin fell off pretty quickly. He just didn't have the car, maybe hit the wall a couple times. But Kyle Larson came up towards the front. And if you guys watched the race, I don't think this was that much of a surprise. Darlington seems like a track that would fit him. Atlanta, Darlington, Chicago, Homestead. You know, tracks that are a little bit worn out, a little bit where the high line, well, not technically high line, but you don't have a lot of grip. Tracks that Kyle Larson really likes. So Larson was running very well, and it looked like he was pretty much the dominant car of the night. There was other guys that was around. Hendrick Motorsports was a talking point coming into the race because they seemed pretty good in practice. They seemed good in qualifying. They weren't as strong in the race, but one big shout out basically to Jimmy Johnson. He had a start at the back, but then he drove all the way up to 14th. Unfortunately, he had a pit road, or not speeding, but a pit road commitment line issue that put him back a couple of laps. And then he had an oil pump issue way later on, but he was pretty much already out of the race by then. But he did drive from the back to end of stage 1, 14th place, no cautions. He had to drive all the way there. Kyle Larson was lapping a lot of people. Even though Jimmy had a horrible finish and didn't get anything out of the race, no stage points, no nothing, that was probably the best run the 48 car had. I think he had a top 5 car. So I know a lot of Jimmy fans are kind of disappointed, but I wouldn't be too disappointed, mainly because that car had speed. It wasn't able to show its full potential tonight. But going from last to 14th without any cautions, I think he had a top 5 car. I want to positively say that. I'm very sure he had a top 5 car. But you never know. Later on in the race, track changes. You never know. But that car looks good, so don't worry about it. Coming to the end of stage 1, it's caution free, so Kyle Larson is just lapping guys. And the first real, I would say, debate or hard racing kind of thing that happened tonight was Austin Dillon trying to stay in front of Kyle Larson. And he was maybe a few tenths in front of Larson with 8 to go, and then he was able to pull away a little bit, and then Larson got back to him as there was other lap traffic going around. And Austin Dillon ran Larson really, really hard to not go a lap down, and he almost put Larson in the wall, maybe even did put Larson into the wall just a little bit, but he was really trying to squeeze Larson, really trying to race hard, and he did stay on the lead lap. Now, I went on Twitter after this and saw some interesting things. A lot of people, I guess, weren't happy with that. That Austin Dillon was racing for the lead lap. Listen, it's your opinion. I'm not really going to get too much into it. I don't think there's any problem with it. I actually really think Austin Dillon's done a great job all year, just trying to race hard and run in that 15th, 12th area because that's what the car gives him. That's what he can do with that equipment, and he tries to finish there week in, week out, and he was running right in that area again and just trying to stay on the lead lap, and he did a good job. He didn't wall Larson or anything like that. It's just hard racing. But then I see people complaining on Twitter, and it's just, I don't get it because you guys want hard racing. It's, what do you want? I just don't understand. I mean, the guy didn't do anything wrong. He didn't punt Larson and wreck him. He didn't do anything that was just downright egregious. He just raced the dude hard, gave him as little room as possible. Yes, he made a little bit of contact, but I mean, if you thought he was doing that on purpose, it doesn't work like that. Because if Austin Dillon was doing that on purpose and he came up and tried pinching Larson like this, the natural way physics work is Dillon would be like that into the outside wall. My biggest issue here is I just think it's the driver. I mean, if someone else did that, I don't think that'd be that big of a deal, but a lot of people don't like Austin Dillon because silver spoon apparently, but Austin does a great job. He does, like, he legitimately has talent. Like, yes, his grandfather is Richard Childress. Yes, that ride is probably because of that. Yes, he's been given a lot of things in his life, but he has talent. He's actually earned it. He's won championships. He's, I think, very clearly the better of the two Dillon brothers, but just a little personal thing on that. I just don't like the just the hate that's going around. Like, that just made no sense to me. You guys want good racing. If you guys want hard racing, don't complain when that happens. I mean, if you guys were alive 20 years ago and you had the opinions or the option to post your opinions on Twitter, every single one of you would have hated Earnhardt. And I know you hear that a lot, like Austin Dillon's not Earnhardt, but Earnhardt literally wrecked people. He literally dumped people for wins. That's how Earnhardt drove. So don't be complaining when you want hard racing, and then someone gives you hard racing to end a stage. Like, you don't want the stage to be just boring. It was hard racing, and then you complain about it. It's just, I don't really agree with that. Also, I don't agree with calling Dillon trash or calling him a silver spoon or calling him any of those things, because could you do better? I want you, if you think that way about Austin Dillon, to go try and think of yourself in that 3 car and see if you could drive that car at 130 degrees. That car's not that great. Darlington, no grip. You're trying to stay on the lead lap in front of one of the best drivers in the world right now, Kyle Larson. Tell me if you can do better, because a lot of you guys, including myself, aren't in the sport. We can't say we would do better. There's a difference between critiquing someone, like, okay, Austin Dillon could have given him a little bit more room, right? He could have just maybe not tried, basically pinched him into the wall. You could say that, but saying like Austin Dillon is a silver spoon, saying these egregious things about him or calling him derogatory names, it doesn't make any sense. It's just nonsensical hate bait. I'd like to use this phrase, nonsensical nonsense. I created it. That's like my own copyright, but that's a stupid phrase. It just doesn't really make sense to hate on Austin Dillon. That's my little tirade for the entire episode. I'm obviously guilty of these things too. Remember Martinsville 2017? I mean, I basically called out Denny Hamlin for many things, but the second he apologized, the reason why I was so mad for him is because that move was egregious, and then he didn't apologize for it. He tried making up lies, but then when he apologized for it, it's a done deal. You know, that's the only time I really ever got that mad at a driver, and I legitimately don't hate anyone within the sport. So again, if you feel like you can do better than him, then cool, you can talk all the trash you want to him, but it doesn't really make sense when he's doing as good as he can in that car to be saying that kind of stuff towards him. I don't really agree with that. That was a really long tyrant on Austin Dillon. I feel like I wasted a lot of this video. I'm sorry about that, but let's get back to the race review. So stage 1, that happened. Stage 2 comes back around. Larson mostly leading the race. There's been multiple penalties as well. So Alex Bowman had I think it was either speeding or a tire penalty. You guys have to no, it was a loose wheel or something like that. He had like flat right rear or something like that. Got knocked off on strategy. Truex had a penalty, but I don't remember exactly what it was for. If you might notice, I don't know all the details of this race because I was also at the gym when I was trying to watch, so I was multitasking. So I apologize about that. But I know Truex had a penalty that put him a little bit further in the pack. But Larson was mainly the main guy that was up towards the front. You had an incident between Joey Gase and Kyle Busch. Don't really know what happened here. Kyle Busch just trying to get around lap traffic, just misjudged it. Very similar to, I guess, the Truex incident, but don't really know what happened. Gase hits the inside wall pretty hard. As stage 2 comes around, Larson is still in the lead. You have guys like Logano and Keselowski are having much better runs than they usually have been having this season. Chase Elliott is up there as well. I think Kevin Harvick is trying to get up there as well. But stage 2 comes around, and it was a pretty cool finish. Same exact scenario. Austin Dillon is trying to stay on the lead lap to Larson, but Larson this time is able to nip Austin Dillon right on the line 3 wide, and he gets that basically as payback for what Dillon did to him earlier in the race. And as a driver standpoint, you know Larson's going to be mad with Dillon at what happened earlier. So Larson does what he does and does it pretty much the right way. Just put him a lap down, and that was pretty funny to see. Third stage comes around, and this race is 2.5 hours at this point. This race is a long race, so we still got over 150 laps to go, and it's very, very long to go. We still have a lot of pit stops, this tire strategy being what it is, where tire wear is just absolutely massive. You fall off dramatically. So a lot of tire strategy just on when to pit. But during this entire time, Larson is still in the lead. You have Eric Jones, Chase Elliott up there around second and third. You have certain guys trying to go a little bit further on tires. You have guys short pitting really early. And then a caution with 50 to go comes out. And this was with Bowyer and Newman. And this is just a really unfortunate circumstance of Bowyer not knowing Newman was pitting. When a long run happens like that and the spotters just weren't able to relay the information to their drivers, Newman waved his hand out, and just Bowyer, I mean, you can't really see. There was a car in front of Bowyer, so he didn't really see Newman's hand. And when he probably saw the car's hand, he probably thought it was like a go low sign or something like that. So it's really confusing when everything's happening that fast. To be honest, that doesn't happen as much as I think it should. I think it should happen more often on green flag pit stops, but it happened, unfortunately, those two out of the race, and really hard hit for Bowyer. But that kind of shakes things up, because then there were only 3 cars on the lead lap. So there was Larson and then the 2 Penske cars in Keselowski and Joey Logano. Ryan Blaney's not really up there because he just had a horrid night all night. I don't really know what happened to Blaney. He was just never up there. Really, really poor all night. So those 3 cars are the only cars on the lead lap. Everyone else is either a lap down or has to take the wave around. I know Kurt Busch did not take the wave around, so he was still a lap down. But I think he got back on the lead lap as well. So there's different strategies to take. But 3 cars on the lead lap. When the wave around goes around, there's only about 8 cars on the lead lap. But it's really mainly just Larson, Logano, Keselowski. That's where the battle's going to come from. If you're any further back than that, you can't really get up to these guys. You don't really have that pace to get up there quick enough to catch a Larson or a Keselowski. So Larson is in the lead after one of the restarts, but a caution with 20 to go comes out for Jeffrey Earnhardt, and then coming down pit road, Brad Keselowski is able to nip out Kyle Larson. And that was the big moment of the race when Keselowski got that clean air, when he was able to stay in front of Larson. It was pretty much a done deal from that point. Also, Larson's car, I don't think it was all to dirty air, because I don't think his car would just be that bad right away. I think it was just an unfortunate set of tires. Maybe the tires just didn't match with his car. That happens sometimes, and his car just dropped like a rock. I haven't seen post-race interviews, but I would imagine Larson is probably pretty upset. He led almost the entire race. He was the dominant car pretty much for the entire race, and he loses the lead on pit stops, not by a drastic amount. He lost it just by a little bit. I mean, just like maybe, a few tenths of a second in the difference of the pit crews, and that gave Keselowski the lead on the restart, and then Larson couldn't get to him. Logano gets around Larson. Harvick tries to get around Larson as well, and unfortunately for Larson, no win. Fortunately for Brad Keselowski, a win. First win of 2018, which is weird to say, because he hasn't won all year, and that's weird. I don't know. I kind of view Keselowski as one of the veterans who occasionally wins like multiple races per year. I think he's done that for the last few years. He's won at least 2 races. I don't know about that. Don't quote me on that, but I think he's won multiple races over the last few years. So knowing that he hasn't won anything all year is kind of odd, but he finally wins here at Darlington Labor Day weekend, special for him with the American flag, how patriotic he is. So good job, Keselowski. To the race results, Keselowski, Logano, Larson, Harvick, and Elliott round out the top 5, with Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Jamie Mack, Denny Hamlin rounding out the top 10. No real surprises there. Jamie McMurray had a pretty good run coming from the back to the front, and I think, knowing where Jamie finished, my point about Jimmy Johnson earlier in the video, I think Jimmy would have finished around where Chase Elliott did. I really believe that car was real. I thought it was probably the best Hendrick car. That 48 car looked really good at the early part of the race. So I mean, if they could have had the chance, you never know. That could have been a really good run for Jimmy Johnson. He's probably having the worst year of his career, but it is what it is. But yeah, like I said, no real surprises in the top 10. Those are drivers you would expect to be in there. As we go to 11th through 20th, you see Martin Truex Jr. getting that comeback from the penalty. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with a good run. Chris Buescher with a fantastic run. He was running up towards that top 15, top 10 area. Even during the pit strategy, he was trying to stay on the lead lap in the top 10. So great run for Chris Buescher, great run for that team. Another driver that probably deserves a chance at a better quality ride. Eric Almirola, Ryan Blaney in 15th, Austin Dillon in 16th, Paul Menard, David Reagan, Ryan Newman, and Michael McDowell rounded the top 20. And then the rest of your results, you'll see guys that had issues. Alex Bowman had some issues. Bubba Wallace just wasn't that good all night. Kenseth had some issues as well. Daniel Suarez, not a good night for him, and not good for also the rumors that are going around that 19 car. He kind of has to step it up like right now to prove that maybe he actually deserves that ride. I said in that video earlier this week about Truex, the situation, I do believe Truex will be in that 19 car. I'm almost 90% sure that will happen. So unfortunate for Daniel Suarez. He has to pick it up. He wants to maybe show something to Joe Gibbs, like, hey, keep me in the ride. And then the rest of the results, you'll see William Byron down here with a blown engine that happened late on in the race, Clint Boyer with the incident, and Jimmy Johnson. Again, just having that poor finish, but I really thought he'd do well. Overall, the race I thought was pretty good. I know it got kind of dragged out there a little bit. The race is obviously really long. It's 4+ hours. That's something I kind of want to touch on in a future video. I just think shorter races might be better. Not maybe for this race. I think this is a monument, so you don't want to change the length of this race. I just think maybe shorter races could just be a little bit more exciting. It's just like the new generation mindset. We're in 2018. We get things so quickly on social media, and everything is so quick nowadays. The information that we get, that I just maybe think, like an F1 race is an hour 45 minutes most times. I think that's a good length for a race. So a 4+ hour race is pretty tough to watch the entire thing and stay right on there. But again, it was a good race. There's nothing really to complain about. It was a good race, good driving quality out there. You could definitely see the drivers sliding around a lot, no rear grip, some passing opportunities out there. So everything was good out there. 8, 9 out of 10. I liked the race. Nothing really I didn't like about it. And if you haven't noticed by now, probably even in the last couple of videos, I'm just taking like a different perspective on things. So you'll notice I'm a little bit more positive, but it's not just that. It's just I'm really trying to like knock down on the hate. Even myself, I've known many times earlier, this year and last year as well, that the hate from myself has gotten a little bit too much, and I don't like that. I think it's okay to critique NASCAR. Like, I'm still going to critique the point system. I'm still going to critique the car. And when the CEO gets drunk and is on drugs, I'm still going to critique that. That stuff is, that stuff deserves to be critiqued. But the hate part is where I'm going to try to dive it down a little bit. And I kind of challenge you guys to do the same, because Twitter, when I go on Twitter right now, it's not just NASCAR. It's everything I look at. Everything I look at has hate, and I think that's just the natural aspect of social media. But I'm just trying to like dive that down a little bit, just from personally myself. If I'm going to disagree with something, I want to critique it, not hate on it. So that's kind of like the thing I'm going for. So you'll probably notice that in a lot of these videos. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. I'm just trying to like kind of, I don't know, I just want all that negativity out of my life right now. Pretty long video. I went off topic a little bit, but the race was pretty good. So if you guys like the video, make sure to hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Comment down below what you thought on the race. And I think next week we go to the Brickyard, which is the final race of the regular season, I think. I hope I'm right about that. And then the playoffs start 2 weeks from now. These last few races, while they have been good, they just don't have really many points implications. So I kind of just want the Brickyard to kind of just be over with. Not expecting the greatest race there because of just the aero situation, but hey, if it's good, cool, that'd be great. But I kind of just want the playoffs to start now. I kind of want to see the championship battle kind of like get into place. So when we talk about critiquing the playoff system, we got to work on that where the regular season matters. It not enough yet. I'll see you guys later. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and see you guys next week. So peace out.